In the heart of the 13th century, amidst the sprawling and powerful Delhi Sultanate, a figure emerged who would defy every convention of her time. This is the story of Razia Sultana, not just a queen, but a sultan in her own right, the first and only woman to ever rule the throne of Delhi. Her tale is one of courage, intelligence, and a relentless will to lead in a world dominated entirely by men. Born in 1205, Razia was the daughter of Sultan Shamsud-Din Iltutmish, the true architect of the Delhi Sultanate. Iltutmish was a man of remarkable vision. He had risen from slavery to become a mighty king, and he believed that merit, not birthright or gender, was the true measure of a person. He educated all his children, sons and daughters alike, in the arts of war and governance. They learned archery, horsemanship, and military strategy. But among them all, it was Razia who shone the brightest. Her natural talent was undeniable. When her father went on a military campaign to Gwalior in 1231, he left the entire administration of his capital, Delhi, in Razia's hands. It was an enormous responsibility, a test of her abilities. And she didn't just meet expectations, she exceeded them. Her governance was so brilliant, so effective, that upon his return, Iltutmish made a decision that sent shockwaves through the court. After the unexpected death of his eldest son and chosen heir, Iltutmish looked at his remaining sons and then at his daughter. He saw in Razia a leader, a ruler. In a move that was nothing short of revolutionary, he declared Razia as his successor. He famously stated that his daughter was worth more than 20 of his sons. He was breaking with centuries of tradition, defying both Islamic and Indian customs that barred women from the throne. He was betting on her ability, not her gender. However, when Iltutmish died in 1236, the powerful Turkic nobles couldn't stomach the idea of a female ruler. They ignored the late sultan's wishes and placed Razia's half-brother, Raaziat-ud-Din, on the throne. It was a disastrous choice. Raaziat-ud-Din was a weak and self-indulgent ruler, and his mother, Shaturkan, a former handmaiden, used his incompetence to seize power for herself. Her rule was cruel and chaotic. She even plotted to have Razia assassinated. But Razia was not one to be a victim of court intrigue. She was a strategist. Dressed in red, the color of protest, she went to the great Jama Masjid of Delhi during Friday prayers. Standing before the city's populace, she made a direct and powerful appeal. She reminded them of her father's wishes and exposed the tyranny of her brother and his mother. The people of Delhi, who admired Razia's capabilities and were fed up with the chaos, responded. They stormed the palace, captured Shaturkan, and swore their allegiance to Razia. Raaziat-ud-Din's short and disastrous reign of less than 7 months came to a swift end. In November 1236, Razia ascended the throne. She made it clear from day one that she would not be a mere figurehead. She refused the title Sultana, which usually meant a king's wife. Instead, she insisted on being called Sultan Raazia. This was a bold declaration. She was the sovereign, the absolute authority. This wasn't just about a name, it was about power. Her assertion of authority was visible everywhere. Initially, the coins minted in her name also bore her father's name, a clever move to ease the transition and calm the nobles. But soon, she issued new currency that bore her name alone. The inscription read, "Pillar of Women, Queen of the Times, Sultana Raazia, daughter of Shamsud-Din Iltutmish." It was a message to the world that she ruled in her own right. To further cement her legitimacy, she sought and received recognition from the Abbasid Caliph in Baghdad, the spiritual head of the Sunni Muslim world. He officially acknowledged her as Malika, or Queen, of Delhi, a crucial endorsement that silenced many of her critics. Razia's defiance of tradition was a daily spectacle. She cast aside the veil and the secluded life of the harem. She dressed like male rulers in a tunic and turban, and openly rode her elephant through the streets of Delhi, often armed with a sword. She held court in public, met with ministers and generals, and led her own armies into battle. She was a ruler who refused to be hidden, who demanded to be seen and respected as the commander-in-chief she was. But her reign was about more than just symbols. Razia was a sharp and forward-thinking administrator. She knew that a strong kingdom was built on more than military might. She championed education, establishing schools and supporting scholars. She fostered a vibrant cultural life where art and science flourished. In her court, merit was what mattered. She appointed officials based on their talent, not their noble birth or ethnicity, creating a more inclusive and effective government. She understood that to build a lasting empire, you needed the best people, regardless of their background. However, a ruler so far ahead of her time was bound to face fierce opposition. The powerful Turkic nobles, who saw their inherited privileges threatened, grew resentful. Their anger boiled over when Razia appointed an Ethiopian man, Melik Jalalat-ud-din Raazia, to a high and prestigious position in the court. This was seen as a direct challenge to their monopoly on power. The appointment of a non-Turkic official to such a powerful post was the final straw for many of them. Conservative religious factions were also scandalized by her public presence and her rejection of patriarchal norms. The backlash was not just political, it was violent. In 1237, a radical Shia group attacked Delhi's main mosque, a sign of the deep unrest her rule provoked. Rebellions began to flare up on the fringes of the empire. Malik Ayaz, the governor of Lahore and a former ally, rose against her. Though Razia skillfully defeated him and showed mercy, it was a clear sign that her grip on power was fragile. The conspiracy against her was led by Malik Ikhtiyar-ud-din al-Dunya, the governor of Binte. In 1240, while Razia was on a campaign to crush his rebellion, the nobles back in Delhi used her absence to stage a coup. They executed her trusted advisor, Yaqut, and declared her other half-brother, Bahram, as the new sultan. Razia was captured and imprisoned by al-Dunya. But even in defeat, Razia's story took another dramatic turn. Al-Dunya, the very man who had captured her, soon found himself sidelined by the nobles in Delhi. Realizing his mistake, he saw an opportunity. He proposed marriage to Razia. Together, they raised an army and marched on Delhi to reclaim her throne. It was a final, desperate gamble. But their forces were no match for the Delhi army. They were defeated, and as they fled, they were captured and killed by local villagers in October 1240. Razia Sultana's reign lasted just under 4 years. It was a brief but brilliant flash of light in a dark and unforgiving era. The powerful nobles succeeded in removing her, but they could not erase her legacy. She was overthrown not because she was an incompetent ruler, but because she was too competent, too independent, and, most unforgivably in their eyes, a woman. Today, Razia Sultana is remembered as a true icon of female empowerment. She was a military strategist, a skilled administrator, and a courageous leader who dared to shatter the glass ceiling of her time. Her story proves that leadership has no gender. It is defined by courage, vision, and the will to make a difference. Razia Sultana was not just the queen of Delhi, she was a queen of history, a ruler who proved that a woman's place could be on the throne. Figures from history. See you next time.